Hello all, I'm back again with another analysis of my practice. So a couple of weeks back I had posted a solo transcription of Eric Clapton on this jazz standard Autumn Leaves, which is an amazing one, of course. This analysis is digging more deep into that because I didn't post the analysis along with the video. So if you haven't checked the video out yet, I would highly recommend that you do, because I'm going to go deep down into the lines that are part of those solos. So I'll add the link to the video either on any top right corner or top left corner using a card, or in the description. So moving on, digging deep into this solo, I think there are a couple of takeaways. One is, how do you create beautiful pentatonic lines that are connected and not stuck at one position, then you shift to other position, but rather you connect these lines throughout the fretboard very beautifully. So how you can visualize that. This is mainly for people who are, let's say, beginning to explore pentatonics. So if you're already shedding in pentatonics, then I would suggest you can skip this part and move on to the second part, which is about how we can place these pentatonic notes so beautifully over the changes, which is exactly what is the main content of this video going to be. And of course, I'll be marking the timestamps, so please feel free to jump to that. The first part, how do we create pentatonic lines that connect, sound, let's say, linear or flowing beautifully, rather than moving from position to position and sounding very rigid, right? So how I viewed it, or how I practiced it, just looking at the minor pentatonic and also, let's say, the relative major pentatonic together. Just learn one position, that is, let's say, in this example, we will be over the key of D major or B minor, which is pretty much the same because relative major and minor. The minor pentatonic position would be, and a major pentatonic from D would be, basically both are the same notes, right? So to move freely through the fretboard, how I visualize it is, so let's say I start with the B minor pentatonic. So I'm in B. So now I can say I know the position of the major pentatonic and how the shape is. So I can spot the D here. So what I could do is, and now when I'm here, I can spot the B here. So I can always maybe play a lick because I just know the shapes over the B minor pentatonic. So I can spot the B here. So now I'm in a D. So I can go ahead and play again a major position here. And now I can spot the B here. So I can, now I'm in a D. So as you can see, throughout the fretboard, you can flow through the pentatonic very easily, pretty much, if you just know one shape, that is your major pentatonic, and one shape, that is your minor pentatonic, and just spotting these notes. Of course, this will train you in two things. One is spotting the notes where there are B's in your fretboard and D's in your fretboard. In this example, let's say here is a B, D, B, D, D, etc., or a B, D, etc. So spotting this, slowly doing this, will also help you spot these notes, and where the notes are in your fretboard is going to get into your heads. But at the same time, you are not very shape driven, because you can see the home center of what pentatonic you are going to play. And just shifting between the major pentatonic and a minor pentatonic, you can actually flow through the fretboard very easily. And you can clearly see that in the solo lines in Eric Clapton's solo here. So for example, let's say the starting line itself. So all these lines are the major pentatonic. The next line, so completely the whole thing is B minor pentatonic. So you can see how the connection happens. So from here, so the major pentatonic position, minor pentatonic position, you can just connect to make these beautiful linear sounding lines, rather than sounding choppy by jumping position to position, right? And another example could be this line, where he ascends over the B minor pentatonic. So as you can see, if you have to do that really fast, you might get lost to get the right notes. But if you know the shapes and spot the B's and the D's, like how we have been discussing in this example, we can easily execute this. For example, I'm starting from the B. This is standard B minor pentatonic position. Continue the same B minor pentatonic position. Now I can spot the D here. So there we go. So that's how we can easily connect pentatonic lines, and Eric Clapton does this beautifully. And this solo can be a great workout too if you transcribe this. And maybe doing this in 12 keys will open up ideas of how you can spot these home centers, and just playing the respective minor and major pentatonics, the relative ones. You can easily flow through the fretboard rather than feeling stuck in a position. Before moving to the second part, we would have to discuss the changes, of course. So Autumn Leaves is a standard that has been analyzed a lot. There are tons of videos on the web. Maybe I'll also link to a couple of them so that you can take a look at it. So if you are new to Autumn Leaves or the 251, which is like the most common changes used in jazz, anything of those analysis, etc., I would suggest you can take a look at those videos. Moving on, however, quickly looking into the changes just to whisk by so that we understand what we are going to talk about, placing these pentatonic notes over these changes. So the song is, so this song they have done it in D or B minor that we have been discussing, D major or B minor. To start with, it's a 2-5-1-4 in D major. So that is E minor 7, 5 is A7, 1 is D major 7, G major 7, the 4. And then it's a 2-5-1, it's a minor 2-5-1 in B. That is D flat minor 7 flat 5. And then a 5 of B minor, that is F sharp 7. And then B minor for 2 bars. And Autumn Leaves again has a couple of variations of the same chords, these 2-5-1-4 and 2-5-1 after this as well. But however, for this solo, Eric Clapton pretty much goes around this cycle of 8 bars. And looking at how he has placed these pentatonic notes beautifully is what we are going to do now. Okay, the first chord, as we saw, is E minor 7, right? He doesn't directly go, the note he's trying to hit is the 7th of E minor 7, but he doesn't go there. But rather than directly hitting the 7th, he creates a beautiful tension by going to the 6th first. So he's going to, so that is the 6th of the E minor, then goes to the flat 7 of the E minor 7. So then comes to the 3rd of the A7, which is the 5-7. The 3rd of the 1 major 7, that is D major 7. So as you can see, this is the line. So you can see how beautifully he has placed the notes from the chord itself. And however, as you can see, pretty much everything is the major pentatonic here, right? Now let's move on and see more of his magic. So the next set of chords is 2-5-1 and B minor. So that is a D flat minor 7 flat 5, and he goes. Predominantly the chord sound is this. So he makes sure that he uses the B minor pentatonic to highlight that. Then the next chord is F sharp 7, F sharp dominant 7, the 5 of B minor. So as you can see, comes to the B minor. So he takes that line from the 7th of the F7. And then we are on the B minor for 2 bars. It is all that was done there was just a B minor pentatonic ascent over 2 octaves. That's about it, right? And even in the first part, I even discussed how looking at it as a combination of minor and the major pentatonic will easily help you execute that. If you haven't checked that out, you can check that out previously. And over the B minor, that's a 2 octave ascent over just the B minor pentatonic. And then after the ascent, and again lands to the E for the next cycle of changes. That is again starting from E minor, third of the A7. So that's how, beautifully placing the pentatonic notes. Especially, there are two things that you can see. Either he lands on the chord tone of that chord and stays there, make sure that it's highlighted, and the beauty of the chord, especially the guide tone, most likely it's the third or the seventh that he's using, is highlighted. And the next thing that he also uses is, of course, I'm not analyzing the whole solo here, but it's pretty much the same concept you will be finding. And the reason why I'm leaving it is I would really encourage you guys also to take a dig at this and continue the analysis. And another thing that you will spot, what you have been spotting, is apart from landing on the chord tones, especially the guide tones, the 3 and 7th of the chords, and highlighting them, sometimes he also makes sure that he highlights those guide tones by embellishing that with the notes from the pentatonic scale. He's not really worried about modes or what kind of notes that can be used over the chord. He knows which chord tone to hit because we are in that particular chord during the changes, and then uses the scale, I would say the pentatonic scale, either the major or the minor pentatonic, and embellishes that. For example, let's say this line, it's over, D flat minor 7, flat 5, and you can clearly see that. So he's just highlighting the third there and just embellishing that line with other notes from the B minor pentatonic. That's a quick idea of how I view this solo, and I'm just leaving the rest of the solo for you guys so that you can also take a dig at it and see how beautifully Eric Clapton has done this. And if you are seeing something that I am not seeing, then of course do hit me up on the comments, and I would love to start a discussion. And until next time, bye bye.